May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be ever mindful, dear Lord, my strength and my salvation. Amen. Won't you please be seated? Well, I finally am back mentally. Physically, I've been here a week. But Susan and I got back from the Caribbean, and Frank and Maureen visited us. They were on a cruise through the Caribbean, and they came ashore on the island. And I so disappointed them. They pulled into the harbor of Gustavia, and I think they were waiting for me to come out in a dugout with all the other natives, bringing coconuts and flowers or something. But we took them around to see the island. We had a wonderful time. And the island where Susan and I were staying, where I was working as a priest, is very much looks and feels like the French Riviera. High cliffs and very narrow roads and tiny cars and overpriced restaurants. It was a wonderful place to be. We had an exciting thing happen, and I have achieved my life's ambition. My children are proud of me. I never thought that would happen. I mean, the last time I even worried that it might even be so when they were like 10 or 11. But my children have actually bragged about me to their friends. Friends, this is just such an extraordinary circumstance. Do you know how this happened? It was a complete accident. I did a wedding. And the wedding was for a person named, I forgot their first name. I didn't forget on the good day, but there are these young couple. She was a model, and he ran a clothing company. And she is a model for Victoria's Secret. And they had a big bash at the church where I was serving. We had 250 people. And they rented out 2 whole hotels to bring for their wedding guests. And they brought all the flowers from America and the musicians from California and chefs from New York. And it was they had 15 containers, shipping containers, delivered to the island. Bottled water, booze, all the things that models and people in the jet set need for this wedding and reception. And the guest list was supposedly very exclusive. I'd never heard of anybody. I didn't know anybody in this. And I met, there were 10 or 15 fashion models. I met a Serene Highness. I had to ask what that was. I met a real Russian oligarch. Oh, what do you do? I'm in the oil business. And I was told he owns the Russian oil industry. Now, the island is a habitat for the very wealthy. There are no income taxes there. So if you are a citizen of the European Union, France, all that thing, you can live on this island for at least 6 months of the year, and you pay no taxes whatsoever. So the island has a great many mansions and chalets and villas for the fabulously wealthy. And as Frank and Maureen can tell you, as you go down the main street, you can shop at all the Paris fashion houses and boutiques, and it's all lines, the shops around the harbor. But if you actually want to be able to live there like a native, you go back into the hills and find the supermarket and the grocery store. But my children are proud of me because I appeared on this model's Instagram network, whatever you call it. I don't even know what Instagram is. I haven't been following it. She has 2 million followers. And here is Daddy standing over the couple, and 2 million young people, teenagers, girls who love the idea of being fashion models. They get to see their father at work. I don't know how many weddings they've been to at the churches that I've conducted over the years. They finally are proud of me. Their father is doing something that is important. I guess all their other 25 years didn't really matter. I wanted to talk to you today about what you do, how you do it, and what matters in life. I have a tendency to look at myself functionally. Who am I? I'm a priest. I'm a father. I'm a this. I'm a that. When the reality is, what I truly should be thinking about is that I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. My identity is not my job. My identity is not my family. My identity can be found perfectly in Jesus Christ. I don't need to have my picture appear on Instagram for 2 million teeny boppers around the world to be fulfilled. I only need Jesus Christ. This is the theme that I wanted to stress today in my sermon. And I'm going to look at our gospel reading. It starts off with, just before we come to this part of chapter 11, we have the close of chapter 10, and Jesus is telling the disciples, unless you take up your cross and follow me, you're not mine. You must leave your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. You must make me the center of everything if you are truly going to be my disciples. So we now have a new chapter, and it starts off with John the Baptist has heard of all the things that Jesus has been doing. And John is in prison. This is chapter 11, and John was thrown in prison in chapter 4 of Matthew's Gospel, so he's been in there for a while. And you have to ask, and then John sends two of his disciples to Jesus and say, are you the one? Are you the Messiah? Are you the one that I have been preparing the way for? Now, if you pause there for a second, John must have been in prison a really long time. This is his first cousin, Jesus. We go back to the beginning of the Luke's Gospel, and when his mother Elizabeth was pregnant with John and Mary was pregnant with Jesus, John the Baptist leapt with joy in Elizabeth's womb. In all four Gospels, Jesus comes through the River Jordan, and John baptizes Jesus, and the heavens open up, and a dove descends, and the Spirit of the Lord speaks. This is my Son with whom I am well pleased. Has John forgotten all this? Has he been in jail just a little bit too long? Well, that's one way of looking at it. Another way is who John sent, his disciples. We read in the Gospels that John's disciples were not that keen about Jesus muscling in on their show. We read in John's Gospel, chapter 2, verse 26, John's disciples come to him and say, Master, there's this guy you baptized over the Jordan. He's starting to do all these things. Will you tell him to knock it off? This is our patch. We have the franchise. He's muscling in. Could it be that John the Baptist is sending his disciples to ask a question which John knows the answer to, so that his own people can figure out what is really important? In our Old Testament reading from Isaiah, we have the attributes of the Messiah. He unstops ears, he unlocks tongues, he makes the blind see, he does all these things. And these are the things that Jesus has been doing. And John sends his disciples to see them because they've been hearing stories about it. But John's disciples, this can't be the Messiah. He's not a prince, he's not a soldier, he's not a lawyer, he's none of the things that our society says are important. He's a carpenter from Nazareth. He might as well drive a truck and be from Okeechobee. This is not the profile of God. God must be great and glorious and powerful and magnificent. He has to speak like Charlton Heston. He's got to be somebody. Not a nobody. Your country cousin from Nazareth. Now, John has been preaching about the coming of the Messiah. John has been saying, I must diminish so that he will increase, and that I am preparing the way for him. But his disciples are saying, no, 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 we're on John's team. They're looking at their jobs, they're looking at their function, and they've lost sight of what it's all about. Years ago, when I was studying to be a priest, we had a retired presiding bishop, a man named John Allen, come to the school. Howard and I went to the same school, by the way, except I am a child to Howard's more mature years. And the presiding bishop, John Allen, he's the head bishop, had been the head bishop of the Episcopal Church through the 70s and early 80s. And he came and he gave a lecture, he gave a sermon in chapel, and he taught a class, and he met with students over lunch. And John Allen was the head of the church when we had a fight over women clergy. Here's a clue. We're always fighting about something. Every generation's got their fight. And for John Allen, the fight was women clergy. He happened to be against it, but the church was for it, so being a good leader, he went with the flow and said, okay, we'll do this. And John Allen and people wanted to ask him questions, so we sat down at lunch, and there were some people there, some women ordinands, women training to be priests, and they asked him the question, do you regret anything in your ministry? You've been a priest for over 50 years, you've been, you've done it all, you've seen it all, what do you wish you had done differently in your ministry? And I think they were sort of angling for, well, I should have been for women priests from the get-go. What he said stays with me to this day. If I had done things differently, I would have worshipped Jesus and not the church. What the head of the Episcopal Church had said was that in his life, too often the church became the object of worship, not Jesus Christ. Now, what does that mean? In our work, in our lives, in our focus, we get so fixed on doing this that we forget why we're doing it, where we're going. My identity as a priest, my identity as a father, my identity as an Episcopalian becomes greater than my identity as a disciple of Jesus Christ. Now, how does that work out in our lives? Friends, you should attend this church because it helps you know the Father, Jesus Christ. But to the people down the street in the Lutheran church or the Baptist church, are they going to hell for going to Lutheran or Baptist churches or Catholic churches? No. This is a way to know the Father. The only way to know the Father is through the Son, Jesus Christ. But the Bible does not go on to say, and the only way is to come to the 10:30 service at Shepherd of the Hills. When we get so fixated on denominations, on customs, on what we've always done it this way, and we lose sight why we've done it this way, we're missing the greater picture. What we need to do is set our sights on Jesus Christ. That's what the Bishop Allen was meant when he said, I worship the church, not Jesus. I was so wrapped up in making sure the Episcopal Church and the Episcopal way and our liturgy and all this was made safe and wonderful that I missed seeing the bigger picture, that our job is to bring people to Jesus Christ. And not everybody thinks or looks or acts or dresses the way we do. Yet we are called to be welcome and open to all people. This is the call of the Christian church. And this is something I've struggled with because, when I'm tired, when I get overwhelmed, I fall back into identities, routines. I'm a priest, I'm a father, I'm a this, I'm a that, and lose sight of why I do it. And it's to serve Jesus. Here, John is sending his disciples to see for themselves the truth of what John has been preaching. The Messiah is coming, and he's going to be like this, and it's not me. And his disciples are saying, hey, wait, this guy is muscling in our territory. We're the holy rollers in Israel today. We don't want this new group coming up. And John is telling them, go and see for yourself. And Jesus' response to these people is to say, look at what I'm doing. And he recites part of the passage we have read from Isaiah today. The sign of the Messiah are these miraculous healings and gifts and things that are being done. The dead are being raised. Don't get hung up on your identity. See, what it comes down to is pride. Pride. I'm a very prideful person. I liked being the priest at a jet-set wedding. I liked being able to show all my priest friends me in Harper's Bazaar magazine. Why? Because it made me seem important. But here's the joke of it all. Who are the ministers at a marriage? Is it the priest? No, he does Holy Communion. If you open our prayer book, the ministers of the marriage are the husband and the wife. But in my pride, my vanity, and my children's excitement, it disappears that I am an added additional extra. I'm supposed to look good in the background. And that's why the husband and wife are front and center. They're the ministers marrying each other. I'm just making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's crossed. It's my pride. Where's your pride leading you? Is it leading you away from Jesus Christ? Can you do it all? Can you save yourself? Are you strong enough? Are you rich enough? Are you young enough? Do you have power? Does the earth tremble at your command? Well, if it does, you're still not able to save yourself. You must come to Jesus. For only in Christ do we find our wholeness, our completeness, our fullness. I frankly was a little nervous serving at a resort church for a month with people. It's a different world there. I mean, houses are $5, $6, $7 million. It's a little more than we have here in Lecanto. I'm not used to living in a city. In Lecanto, if you want to eat something out after 9 o'clock, you have Wawa, or you have Circle K. Those are your choices. The French are different. The restaurants open at 9 o'clock. And in fact, on Friday and Saturday nights, Susan and I didn't get that much sleep because the nightclubs open at 11 p.m. and close at 5 a.m. 3 doors down. This is a place where people wear sunglasses at night. They're not like you and me. But guess what? They are like you and me. As the priest in residence, they don't have a priest there. They have a different priest, one for November, one December, January, February, March, April. Then the church shuts its doors for hurricane season in the summer. And so I was the first priest they had since last spring, at the end of last season. And I thought, oh, this will be easy. I just have to unlock the church in the morning, lock it up at night, and show up on Sunday morning. Sort of like my job here. But every morning I had people come and talk to me. And so the mornings I worked as a priest. In the afternoons I went to the beach. Not a bad life. But people are people, and people have the lives and the issues and the problems of divorce and death and fear and loneliness and loss. No matter how much money they got in the bank, or how little, people are people. And if there are any people in the world that can make all their problems go away with money, it's these people. I met a man at the wedding. His name is Abramovich. And he kindly reminded me that he had paid for the roof of the church after the last hurricane blew it off. He's Jewish. So on this island you have two choices. The French Catholic Church, or the other one. So he comes to the other one. And I asked him what business you're in, the oil industry. He turns out to be the Russian oligarch who owns the oil industry. He also owns the Chelsea football team, and is one of the wealthiest men in the world. Guess what? This man asked me about Jesus Christ. What was the Christ? Tell me more what you were talking about. This man makes more money on interest than I will make in my life 1,000 times over. Yet he needs to hear Jesus. I basically took a chance, thinking, if I give one of my George Jesus sermons, I'm not going to be invited back ever again. Because these people, they want in and out in 7 minutes, they don't want to be challenged too much, all the prejudices I had. Yet I gave a 15, 20-minute sermon at a wedding about the necessity to make Christ the foundation of your life and your marriage. And as the service was over, I had these people come and talk to me. I had this woman who was the agent for the model. And she said, I'm so happy you sent this because these young kids, these models, male and female in their early 20s, with more money than they know what to do with, don't know that there's more to life than things. There's family, there's faith, there's integrity, and they have to hear this. And a man came up to me, this very small man with a very tightly He's a fashion designer, and he wanted to know about, tell me more. Because, you know, I've really been searching in my own life. He had a designer dog, designer shoes, sunglasses this big. He looked like Elton John with hair. And he wanted to know Jesus Christ. Now, if we go through life thinking that these people, they're different, they don't need anything, they don't want what we want, or if let's take it the other way around. Let's go back to Okeechobee. I worked in Okeechobee so I can make fun of them. These poor people on the farm, they're not like us. Their interests are not like ours. But guess what, folks? It's all a lie. Each of us are individuals, created uniquely by God. Each of us have feelings. Each of us have needs. And it doesn't matter how rich we are, or how poor we are, how smart we are, how physically well we are, how sick we are. We all need Jesus Christ. And I confess that I lose sight of that because I get into a rut and I allow my pride to carry me forward. This is what John the Baptist, this is what Jesus were trying to show John's disciples. Their pride at being first to the party by being the followers of the man who's leading the way was blocking them to actually go to the real celebration, which is the coming of Christ, the true Messiah, the one whom God had sent to change everything. In your life, do you have something that is preventing you from coming fully, allowing yourself deeply to know the risen Lord Jesus Christ? Is it your pride? Did you have a rotten experience 30, 40 years ago with a church, a priest, or a group of people, and you don't want to let go of that pain? What is it? It's going to be there somewhere. But whatever it may be, you can trust the Lord. Friends, it's all about Jesus. That's why we're here. It doesn't matter what we call ourselves, Protestant or Catholic, Episcopalian or Lutheran. If it's about Jesus, it's the way to salvation. We just happen to do it best.